Scripps News congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed was there following the developments on Capitol Hill today and into this evening as things continue changing. And we also have with us Republican strategist John Hart on where his party goes from here. Nate, let's start with you. Endgame. What do Republican holdouts want at this point? I just asked one of the people who voted against him, Rosendale, what do you want? He couldn't say a name. Aside from a new speaker, what do they want?
Well, the one thing that they're asking for, and Representative Rosendale brought this up, one of the 8 to vote Speaker McCarthy out of office, so he's now former Speaker McCarthy. They want someone that they can, quote unquote, trust. It's not exactly clear what that looks like, but Representative Matt Gaetz told reporters this just a few moments ago ahead of what could be on Tuesday, a candidate forum for Republicans to be able to listen to and hear the arguments from their various Republican colleagues for why they should be the next Republican Speaker of the House. Take a listen.
I was very disappointed that Mr. McHenry said that we won't be engaging in the people's work until next week, until Tuesday of next week, and I think that's burning a lot of time.
Oh, just to make clear, so he said that the House is leaving town until next Tuesday, and then the Speaker's race is going to be then?
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I think we should stay, we should work. I think we should have a Speaker election this week. I think we could easily come together as a conference to do that, and so I just hate when we pause the clock. I hate when we stop our work and don't do the people's business.
So Republicans say that they're looking for somebody that they can trust. Not clear who that person is. It could potentially be Representative Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader. He's fighting a rare form of blood cancer, though, right now, and that treatment has obviously taken a very physical effect on him. It could also be Representative Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip, or Representative Elise Stefanik, the House Republican Conference Chair. But those holdouts are saying that they want someone they can trust. Again, not exactly clear what that trust is going to look like or how tenable it is to even be a Republican Speaker of the House with that kind of conference.
We keep hearing trust. I want to trust someone. I want someone I can trust. And Harry Truman, remember, he said, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. I mean, trust is not usually number one on the list of attributes of elected officials, but let's see. Democrats, meanwhile, Nate, they wipe their hands clean, starting with Nancy Pelosi, basically saying, your problem. We'll just watch. What are they saying now?
Well, what's interesting is what they're saying now is quite similar to what they said earlier today, which is we don't want to back Speaker McCarthy. We don't think he's been a speaker that we can trust. The argument from Democrats and the 8 Republicans who ousted McCarthy, we don't have trust in Kevin McCarthy. Take a listen.
And I think we want to be united in a party position, but I think it's safe to say there's not a lot of goodwill in that room for Kevin McCarthy.
Is there any reason?
And based on all of the conversation in there, if there's a central part of the focus, it's lacking trust in Kevin McCarthy.
There is reason after reason to just let Republicans deal with their own problems. I mean, they can let them wallow in their pigsty of incompetence and inability to govern. We are following our leader, and we are not saving Kevin McCarthy.
And that's exactly what they did. They voted to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House of Representatives. Democrats, those 8 Republicans, a lack of trust in Speaker McCarthy. He is now not only out of office as Speaker, he's still a member of the House of Representatives, but he also has said he's not running for Speaker again, meaning the person to occupy that very large suite in the U.S. Capitol just off the rotunda is going to have a different name other than Kevin McCarthy, and it's likely not going to be Representative Hakeem Jeffries either.
Nate, thank you. Now let's get to Republican strategist John Hart, who spent a lot of time on the Hill in the Senate, in the House. He worked with Tom Coburn, Jim DeMint, some heavy hitters. So, John, what is happening behind the scenes of your party right now?
Well, Chance, thanks for having me on. It is absolute chaos. Having been in some of these meetings, there's a lot of jockeying for position. But I think what's happening right now is an identity crisis, not just for the Republican Party, but for conservatism more broadly. And the problem in Washington are not the Republicans in name only. They're the rebels in name only. Those are the rhinos that are having a corrosive effect on the institution, where you have people like Matt Gaetz, beating their chest for reform, but it isn't clear at all what his end game is. Gaetz criticized McCarthy for, quote, cutting a deal with Democrats to keep the government open. And then Gaetz turned around and cut a deal with Democrats to oust the speaker. So he can't have it both ways. And I think it just speaks to a lack of principle in our politics, where we're in a very personality-driven era, we have, as the de facto leader of the Republican Party, is Donald Trump, which is a cult of personality. And so people who are rewarded now are those who just make the most noise and get the most attention. And so this is performative politics at its worst, and it's not going to deliver any positive results, nor is it going to deliver conservative reform for the people that want to see smaller government, lower taxes, and less spending.
Well, you know that the joke here in Washington for a long time was how much Republicans hated Ted Cruz. I mean, you worked for Tom Coburn, Dr. No, and, he was notorious, but the people still kind of work together in a way. How do Republicans really feel about Matt Gaetz?
Well, I think they hold him in minimal high regard, as my former colleagues in the Senate would say. They view that Gaetz represents really a lot of what's wrong in today's politics. And again, it's this performative gesturing that happens, where what Gaetz has done is he took his own party hostage and then begged Democrats to not shoot. And so the easiest way to get attention in Washington is to criticize your own party. And I'm a fan of that if it's done in the right spirit and for the right reason. I helped staff a coup against Newt Gingrich 25 years ago, when Gingrich wasn't being true to the principles of the contract with America. But what was different was Tom Coburn and a few Republicans went to him privately and said, "Mr. Speaker, we will not vote for you under any circumstance. Withdraw your name." And he did. So there was no theatrics, there was no pomp and circumstance. He did it very quietly. And, in hindsight, but even then we didn't fully think through what the implications would be for the Plan B and Plan C. We had Bob Livingston and then Denny Hastert, and they were not necessarily an upgrade with Newt Gingrich. And there's a lot of conservatives who, did not go along with this. Chip Roy and others who I think have a more principled perspective than Matt Gaetz does.
There was a certain predictability once upon a time. I guess when I, came to start watching politics, when I was young, Ronald Reagan was president, but really with Bush and others. And I guess I always thought Republicans are the Chamber of Commerce. They're pro-business. They fall in line. What are Republicans now? I guess I'm not even sure what Republicans are.
Well, I'm not sure Republicans know what they are, and I'm not sure Democrats know what they are. I think we may be living through the slow collapse of the two-party system, where the parties are not organized by a coherent set of ideas, but by personalities. And Democrats have to be more organized right now. But if you think of the two-party system as a plane and one of the wings falls off, which is what we're seeing happen in real time, that plane is not going to be stable for very long. And it's very irresponsible for Democrats to do what they did today as well. And so it's not fair just to criticize Matt Gaetz. Again, Gaetz cut a deal with Democrats who wanted to see the chaos in the House because they feel like it's going to score them political points. That may work in the short term, but it's not good for the country. And what we have to go back to is the founders believed in this idea of compromise. Compromise is not selling out. We've had thousands of Americans who have given their lives for the ability to resolve our differences peacefully. And that's what American democracy and our republic is about. And that's what we have to get back to. And hopefully this chaos will be somewhat of an awakening, not just for Republicans, but Democrats as well.
Where is Donald Trump very quickly? Because, Kevin McCarthy went to Mar-a-Lago, kind of gave him cover, gave him a blessing after J6 and all of this. Where is he now?
Well, I think Donald Trump, I think McCarthy's decision to accommodate and placate Trump is part of the mistake that he made. He chose to be a political survivalist, and that worked for a time, but obviously his time has run out. So I think, again, it's deeper than Donald Trump, and it's deeper than Matt Gaetz. It's as a country, we have to decide what are we going to be about? Are we going to be a republic in which people of good faith have to fight it out and compromise, or are we just going to reward whoever screams the loudest on either side?
John Hart, Republican strategist. Really interesting conversation. Thank you. Coming up.